Captain's logs.
Han Solo. I'm captain of the Millennium Falcon.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation starship Enterprise.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You're listening to Captain's Logs and Lightsabers, part of the Geek News Now podcast network.
Hey, Captain's Logs and Lightsabers listeners. Got tats? Love your ink? But are you worried that your art will fade over time and the cost to keep it looking vibrant and fresh gets to be too much? Well, that's where Mad Rabbit comes in. After just one use, you'll see how Mad Rabbit is effective on old and new tattoos. All natural ingredients are used to keep this from feeling oily or greasy. Even better, use promo code CLLPOD and save a whopping 20% on every purchase. Keep your ink looking great and save money. Check it out, madrabbit.com, promo code CLLPOD. Hey, welcome to episode 26 of Captain's Logs and Lightsabers podcast. We are the podcast on the Geek News Now network that talks both Star Trek and Star Wars in the same show. My name is Jonathan, and joining me, unfortunately, though he missed last episode, he's back, my co-host, Chris. How's it going?
I'm doing good, Jonathan. How are you today?
I'm great. It's wonderful to get to record with you again. I'm looking forward to our discussion today.
You too.
We're going to talk about Steel City Con, which Chris and I both went to at the end of March, that first weekend of April. And we're going to talk about our experiences there, talk about the cool things we saw, bought, did, panels attended, and so on. So hang around for that. But before we get into that, we're going to start the show the way we always do, and that's with How Did You Geek This Week? Chris, take it away.
All right. Well, this has been a pretty interesting weekend. So my wife and I went to a used book sale this weekend, yesterday and today. Yesterday, I got the big things that I wanted before it would all be picked over. So I got a lot of Star Trek books, and I also got a copy of the Klingon Dictionary, which was really cool. Got some DVD sets, including the entire series for the Honeymooners. I don't know if anybody likes the Honeymooners out there from the 50s, but finally got that whole set on DVD, so that was nice. Went back today, got a whole bunch of different Star Trek, Star Wars books, a whole bunch of other different movies I'd been interested in. So that was a lot of fun. And then also just today, actually within the last hour and a half. So I'm a member of Starfleet International, as I've said before. I'm a member of the USS Stella Parada here in Pittsburgh. So I'm up right now to possibly be nominated as the first officer for the group. And what I had to do was take several exams through what's called Starfleet Academy to actually be able to be promoted to do that. So I finished my last test today out of the 4, and I'm just waiting to hear back about the vote of confidence from the rest of the Stella Parada crew. So fingers crossed I get that promotion.
Good luck to you. I hope you get it.
Thank you.
No, I know you're really passionate about Stella Parada and being part of Starfleet International, so I'm happy for you that you have that opportunity.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a blast. I really love them. So how did you geek this week?
Couple different ways, kind of like you. So the first thing, Kylie and I decided to stop at the Hallmark store in Belle Vernon because she had some coupons that she had received, like for some bonus point dollars off thing, and she wanted to see if they had any of the Vera Bradley stuff on sale, and she found a bag. So but I actually found the complete set of the Star Trek keepsake Hallmark ornaments, with the ones that have the magic sound dialogue, and with the from the Mirror Mirror episode. Nice. Which I know they released those figures over the course of the past 2 years, 2022 and 2023. I was able to find all 6 ornaments for 75% off each one.
Nice.
So they were $8.50 a piece.
You said this was at Hallmark in Belle Vernon.
Yeah.
Nice deal.
Right? I couldn't believe they were so cheap. And I hadn't bought any of them, so I couldn't pass it up.
Well, I have something to tell you. Kylie's probably going to love this. Brandy found all 5 of the Funko Pop New Kids on the Block figures.
Good for her.
Yes, we knew they were just getting ready to come out, but we had to go to 2 different GameStops in Greensburg, but we found them all.
So you went to the one at the mall and the one by Walmart, I assume.
You got it. Yes, so that was another little side geek thing.
Nice, awesome. So yeah, I don't know if we've ever really talked about it too much on the show, but my wife and Chris's wife are huge fans of New Kids on the Block. So they go to concerts every single time they're in the area. My wife and I have actually driven as far as Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is about 3 hours east of us, to go see them twice.
Oh, yes. And Brandy has taken me about 9 times since 2009 to go to these concerts. I'm telling you, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, I know more about the Wahlbergs than any 42-year-old husband should. Okay. So it's just, but it's fun. It's all fun watching her face light up. And she's gone to 3 Star Trek conventions with me in Las Vegas. So I can't complain.
Yeah. She gets 3 concerts for every Star Trek Las Vegas. That sounds about right.
Pretty much, yeah. They're good shows. I mean, seriously, have you gone to one?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been to a few.
Oh yeah, they're a blast. They really are. So if people were thinking, oh, they're just old kids on the block now, no, they're not. They got more energy than a lot of 30-year-olds do now. Okay,
they got more energy than I do. That's for sure.
Me too.
So contrary to popular belief, if this is your first episode, this is not the New Kids on the Block podcast.
Nope.
So we're gonna try to get this train back on the rails here. Chris, so I know you weren't able to join us for the last episode where Dave Furr and I from GNN talked about all of the Star Wars Celebration news. So I wanted to give you time to give your thoughts on everything that we heard out of that convention. What were your favorite things to see? What were your favorite announcements? So on.
Well, I definitely am looking forward to the Ahsoka series coming out. When is that? This fall?
I believe that's August.
Oh, is it August? That early? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I watched the trailer. It looks really interesting. I'm excited about seeing some of the Star Wars Rebels characters coming into live action.
Mm-hmm.
Seems the people that they got to play Sabine and Hera, they seem to fit the roles pretty well. I'm really excited to see what's going on with Grand Admiral Thrawn. We know from the end of Rebels, he disappeared with Ezra. And I believe Ezra's in the trailer too at one point, isn't he? In a hologram or...
I believe we see what looks like it could be Ezra from behind. I think it's like a shot from behind of his head.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think, yeah, you're right. This is just basically a live action sequel to Star Wars Rebels, and I'm here for it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Ahsoka's really grown on me over the years. At first, it was just like, oh, she's just an animated character. But she's one of probably the most well-developed characters in all Star Wars.
Oh, for sure.
At this point, she's got a lot of story, a lot of good arc, a lot of history. So it'd be nice to see her in her own show and getting her to see what she can do, as a Jedi past the Empire and to see what happens. Mm-hmm. It'd be great. What about you? Any thoughts on your end?
Oh, I mean, if anybody wants to hear my complete geek out thoughts of it, they can check out our last episode. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm excited for it all. Let's just be honest.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, where's that surreal world? What's it called? World without
the world between worlds.
World between worlds. That's it. I can't wait to see how they end up using that in the series.
Yeah. And I hope they don't overuse it because it was just weird enough to work for animation, but I don't know how practical it'll be in live action. It might, I don't know. I don't know. Time travel is so weird in this kind of stuff, and it always just messes with everything.
Yes.
Because there's it's just so hard to make or to introduce time travel and make it not suck.
Oh, absolutely. And change things, and then everybody's fighting about the timeline being ruined, and I get it.
Yeah. Out of the 3 movies that we had announced, which one are you most looking forward to?
Oh boy. So I think as of now, the one I'm looking forward to is the one with Rey at this point. Is that supposed to be like episode 10? I guess kinda.
I don't think it's technically episode 10. I do believe, and who knows if 10 years from now they decide to revisit this, but I'm fairly certain that episode 9 was supposed to be the conclusion of the numbered episodes. Anything that takes place after is, because it doesn't as heavily feature the Skywalkers, I think it's, that whole convention of numbering the films is done. I think we're just going to get continuing stories beyond episode 9, but it's not going to be numbered anymore.
Oh, I got you. That actually makes sense. That makes sense. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a continuation of Rey's storyline. I know a lot of people didn't like her, but I always thought Rey was a very good, fascinating character. And it'll be nice to see her. I guess this movie has something to do with her setting up the new Jedi Order, to that effect. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes and seeing if maybe Luke comes back as a Force ghost and helps guide her. It's those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah. So that movie's supposed to be out, in the next 2 years, maybe?
I believe that is the first movie that's coming. I thought for certain it was going to be Dave Filoni's conclusion of the Mandoverse, but yeah, I think the Rey is actually the one that's closest to being done, which is surprising.
Right. Yeah, that one, it'll be interesting. The Mando one's going to be very good as well.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's supposed to close that whole, not just the Mandalorian, but what else? The, Ahsoka and whatever else is in that time area?
Yeah, everything that has kind of been part of that whole Mandoverse or risen out of the Mandoverse with Ahsoka and Book of Boba Fett. Okay. I think it's all going to just tie up neatly with that movie.
Okay. Now, I did get to only watch bits and pieces of Star Wars Celebration. By the way, their live stream was really good that whole weekend. Did they say anything about continuing Book of Boba Fett?
They did not make any announcements either way.
Okay.
So I have no clue what's coming up next.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I guess we'll just have to, play it by ear and see what happens, Right. But what they've got right now, the slate that they came out was very impressive and exciting.
I'm just hoping all of it sees the light of day.
Yes. It's kind of like with Star Trek 4. It's kind of like things keep popping up on the internet and then it goes away. Then it's back, then it's away again, So yeah, let's fingers crossed on that. I did see that what's the new series, The Acolyte?
Yeah.
Supposed to be coming. That was supposed to be within the next year?
That is sometime in 2024, I do believe. Okay. So they haven't given a firm announcement. They did show some footage in the panel, in the Acolyte panel, but it was only for the people that were in that panel. So gotcha. You might be able to find some grainy, hand, phone camera videos of the screen on YouTube, but I don't know. I mean, the quality is going to be odd, and it was meant for basically anybody that was at that panel in particular. So,
I got you. That makes sense. Sense. Now, does the Acolyte take place during the High Republic era?
It takes place closer to the prequels than it does the High Republic. So it's somewhere between, I don't know, say 50 and 20 years prior to Episode 1.
Okay.
I may be a little off with that timeline. It may actually be a little closer to the High Republic. It might be like 99 to years or so. Okay. Because essentially the High Republic concludes about 150 years prior to the prequel. So the Acolyte takes place somewhere in that time frame.
Sure. Okay. All right. So that's interesting to know. By the way, I know you and I have talked a number of shows back about the High Republic books. I managed to go to Ollie's about 2 weeks ago, and I managed to get a copy of this first book, Light of the Jedi, for $3.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah. So been wanting to check that out. So now I have it. I can start reading it and let you know.
I will give you a heads up. There are a lot of characters introduced, almost too many to keep track of. So if you want to take notes while you're reading it, I would suggest that, because you figure that it's the first book to kick off an entirely new era of Star Wars. So it had to introduce everything.
Sure.
And really try to paint a picture of what the High Republic is all about. And I mean, it succeeds, but it can be very, very daunting and very confusing to keep track of it all.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me know that. I'll try to keep track of everybody and see what I can do. But I can't wait to talk to you about it, because it looks like a good book series. I just never got to read it.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
It's enjoyable. I mean, it has some books that are better than others. Let's be honest, but that's any any series that's based on a sci-fi property.
Mm-hmm.
So not everything can be a winner, but for the most part, it's a compelling story. Like I'm invested in it again because I had kind of lost interest for a while, and now I'm starting to get back in. It's like whenever they went from phase 1 to phase 2, which phase 2 went back even further in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when phase 2 wraps up, then they're going to go back to the timeline that was started in phase 1 with Light of the Jedi. So apparently it's all supposed to tie in somehow, but I don't know.
Okay.
It was just weird because you get used to a certain group of characters, and then they basically say, okay, we're going to take you back in time and introduce a whole bunch more stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's a bit,
Sure. Great. Well, I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah. So in the time since we last recorded, the season 3 for a couple different shows that we're both really into wrapped up. So, of course, we had the season 3 finale of Mandalorian come out last week as we're recording this. So, Chris, we're not going to do a full breakdown of the season, but just give me a couple things that you liked about it, a couple of things that you didn't like about Mando season 3.
Okay. What I liked about it is I like the whole Mandalorian arc of them going back to Mandalore, reclaiming their planet. What I didn't like about the season as a whole is they seem to have a lot of filler episodes that didn't really seem to move the plot further. For example, the episode with the young boy who was kidnapped by that dragon bird, whatever, and then they ended up finally rescuing him. I didn't really enjoy that one. I kind of got lost through it. I was just kind of like, okay, what point does this have to make for the whole season? Unless I missed it.
I think the whole point of that was to build that relationship, to restore that relationship between Din and Paz Vizsla. Because if you remember in the Book of Boba Fett, if you remember, Paz Vizsla fought Din for the Darksaber and lost.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think that whole episode was just to build that relationship between Din and Paz so that he would trust Din and they would be able to unite together to complete the mission to get rid of Moff Gideon and off of Mandalore and reclaim the planet.
Sure, absolutely. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I just thought it was a filler episode, really. But now you putting it that way in the larger picture, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? What else? It wasn't an awful season. It just, I think, what was the episode with Lizzo and Jack Black? They went to...
Yeah.
That one didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, Jack Black, I really enjoyed him in the role. Lizzo, I thought was very wooden in the role, to be honest.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was afraid to say anything because I was afraid I'd be like, everybody would be like, you're being mean to Lizzo, but I just didn't think she doesn't have the acting chops yet.
No. I mean,
that's okay. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's just, that was just one little complaint about the episode.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, how many singers, though, they make the leap from music to acting. And, their first couple things are always a little rough, let's be honest. I
absolutely.
mean, J-Lo is a much better actress now than she was in her first couple appearances.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll see her again and, maybe she'll put on a better performance. She just needs practice. That's all.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I have no doubt that she can do it because she is crazy talented.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So basically, those are just the little minor complaints. But overall, the season, I did enjoy this stuff where they went back and Din Djarin redeemed himself in the Caves of Mandalore? Is that what it's called?
The Living Waters.
Yeah, so getting to see the Mythosaur and went through Bo-Katan's eyes, and basically she was afraid that nobody would believe her. Yes, I also thought it was really interesting how the Armorer allowed Bo-Katan and her followers and her sect to actually remove their helmets, about how she said that basically she's a part of both worlds. Mm-hmm. That was pretty interesting. Let's see. And then obviously the finale was really good in the simple fact of that it was nice to see Moff Gideon back and to see him with these what are they, new shock troopers or death troopers?
So I know he had done the new Death Trooper armor for himself, which was
Yes.
made partially out of Beskar.
Yes.
They had those white stormtroopers that had Beskar armor, or at least,
Okay.
some form or some incorporation of Beskar. But then you had we had the Praetorian Guard in red.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Were there any other soldiers that had like the purple like light pikes, or was it just the Praetorian Guard?
I think it was just the Praetorian Guard.
Okay.
Now, the soldiers in the white, those were not Death Troopers, right? Those I assumed that they were. I thought that's what Moff Gideon had said, but you're saying it was Death Trooper armor that he was wearing.
Correct. He was the one that created the second generation Death Trooper armor using Beskar, and I think his armor was the first, basically the prototype of that.
Prototype. Okay. So it was nice. He certainly looked great in that outfit, and the troopers with the Beskar on. It was just a really interesting scenes to watch the battle between the Mandalorians and his forces. See, also, what else did I really enjoyed that we finally got some answers about why Moff Gideon wanted Grogu a couple seasons ago. So basically what it was is they wanted his blood so that they could clone Gideon but put the Force in him. Is that basically what I was getting?
Yes, I think you're right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was fascinating. It's good that we finally got those answers. I was surprised to see the Darksaber get destroyed. That was kind of, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I wasn't either, but I'm kind of glad it's gone because really it was fine in Clone Wars in the beginning of Mando, but really, I mean, what purpose did it serve? It was just basically a thing. It was a MacGuffin, right? It was just honestly kind of a lazy plot device, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I'm not upset that it's gone.
Oh yeah, I mean it looked neat on screen, but I mean you're right. There was too much dependence on that, and I don't know. I'm hoping that now that it's gone, maybe that'll just kind of reshape some of Mandalore a little bit. That plot of the leadership, but it looks like Bo-Katan's been restored to power at the end.
That way, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, those are some of my basic thoughts about the season. It could have been stronger, but it wasn't horrible. It wasn't too bad. What do you think?
Oh, I agree with you pretty much on all your major points. I thought that everything with bringing Gideon back and showing his motivation, I like how, even though he had used the Beskar resources on Mandalore to create this armor, he's not a Mandalorian, so he is not as adept with working with Beskar as the Mandalorians are. So the Mandalorians were able to pretty easily and handily defeat the stormtroopers, even though they were supposedly both using Beskar armor. But I just think that, of course, Mandalore for however many thousands of years, generations, had been working with Beskar, so they knew how best to use it, of course.
Sure. There were a couple times where it felt like the armorer was a traitor or she was some sort of spy. Did you ever get that feeling?
I don't know. I don't think I ever really believed she was a spy. I think that was kind of a popular theory that was going around because that one episode was titled Spies.
Yeah.
And we only ever had one spy revealed.
Okay.
So I think people were just expecting another one, and then, of course, headcanon runs wild.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. One last question for you. Do you think Moff Gideon is dead?
Yeah, I think he's dead.
You do?
I think they need to. I think 3 seasons of him as a threat is enough. I think they need to move on.
Okay. Well, that's a good point.
I mean, essentially, if you look at the end of the season of the Mando, so I like how, you kind of had that soft reset where you've got Mando and Grogu that can kind of go off on adventures because Din Djarin is Din Grogu's master, essentially kind of a master-apprentice relationship similar to the Jedi. And then you could have a B-plot of episodes where you're with Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians, and you could essentially switch back and forth between the 2 different plots throughout the season.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So let me ask you this. Do you have any idea where season 4 might go from here?
Honestly, no clue. And if we don't get a season 4, season 3 kind of felt like it ended in a nice, neat package, really.
Sure, it did. That final scene. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, if it's done, it had a good run. We'll just definitely say that.
Mm-hmm.
But and then we have the movie eventually coming, so at least we'll have another possible ending. If people aren't satisfied with this one, so
right.
All right.
That's not the only season 3 that came to an end last week as we're recording. The other one was also, well, this one was definitively a finale of the series in general, and that was Picard season 3. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, I know you have been a massive fan of Picard season 3, and I think we both agree that it was a far better season 3 than Mando season 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair to say.
Yes.
So, without going too deep, because we do want to do a full breakdown of the season in another episode. What are the two of the best things, story points, plot points, moments in the show, callbacks to the Next Generation, whatever? Just lay it out there. What were your favorite parts of Picard season 3?
Absolutely, number one was the resurrection of the Enterprise D, without a doubt. The Enterprise D has always been my favorite of the Enterprises, and to see the saucer section from the Next Generation it was rescued, we find out. It's been getting restored for over 20 years by Geordi himself, and yes, they hooked on another battle section from another ship, but it doesn't matter. And then for them to walk on that bridge, and it's back to the way it was during most of the series run, just incredible. Just an incredible moment of nostalgia. It's like going home. It'd be like you and I going back to Cal U, and it's been a number of years, it's just feeling like we're home,
Right.
And so that, to me, that was just wonderful. I always thought the Enterprise D was gone, and it was just it. But to actually not only have it resurrected, but actually have it be where it saved all of humanity, basically, it was just wonderful. It was just wonderful. And just seeing the crew with the emotion of being back at their stations and back, on that bridge, it was wonderful. The second moment that I really enjoyed the most was, it's kind of a tie. It's between when we got the brand new Enterprise G. That was really cool. I was a little disappointed. I was kind of hoping that the Enterprise G would show up, but I was hoping it would be an all new ship instead of it just being a renamed Titan. So now the ship has been the original Titan, then it was rebuilt into the Titan A, and now it's the Enterprise G. It's 3 different ships, essentially. So I thought it would have been more fun to have had something new, but other than that, it's okay. I'm just glad there's a new Enterprise, and it looks like that's going to lead into a spinoff with 7 to 9 and Raffi and Jack.
I can't wait for that if that happens.
I can't, at this point, I can't see how it won't happen. After the way they set that up, having the 3 of them on the bridge of the Enterprise, and then having that little end credit scene with Jack on the ship and being confronted by Q, there's no way they're not going to set this up for something. Has to be.
Yeah. And can we just let Terry Matalas show run all of the new Trek on Paramount Plus, please?
Yes. Please, Terry Matalas, we need you. Yes. Yeah. The story, these characters, you're big on continuity. Please. This was one of the best seasons of Star Trek I've seen in a long time.
Very true.
So what were your thoughts about the season?
Oh, I mean, I was blown away by each and every episode, just the way that everything built upon what the episode that came before it. I mean, you just seeing everything with Jack unravel and having, we go from not knowing what the threat is to discovering that there are basically genetically modified changelings that then had an alliance with the Borg.
Yes.
because Picard, Captain Picard or Admiral Picard passed on Borg DNA essentially whenever Jack was born, and Jack is part Borg just like Picard, and I thought that was just so brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just layers upon layers upon layers. It was so intricately designed, so intricately written. Yes. And I have to go back and watch the whole thing now because just to see how everything falls into place.
Yes. I mean, you're absolutely right about the plot and the villains and everything. I mean, this whole time you think that the changelings are the ones who are running this whole operation, and here we find out it's the Borg. I honestly did not expect that. I thought it was going to go all the way to the changelings all the way through, which was a nice continuation from Deep Space Nine. The only thing that I wish they would have done was kind of wrap the changeling part up a little bit more. As soon as we found out in episode 9 it was the Borg, all of a sudden the changelings kind of just like drifted away. You know what I mean? Like they didn't really mention much. In the finale, all they really said was basically they were just captured and then they rescued. They didn't kill most of the people that they took over. You know?
Yeah,
that would be maybe the only thing that I wish they would have wrapped up a little bit better. But it was nice seeing the Borg Queen again. You know, she looked pretty gruesome. It was literally something right out of The Walking Dead with her character, you know, and seeing, I love the connection that they had to the Voyager finale after Voyager, they brought that virus into the Borg collective, and it literally decimated the entire collective, and the Queen's basically feeding off the biological components of whatever's left of her drones on that ship just to survive.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right about the assimilation process, that the whole thing with the organic DNA, that was an amazing story plot. And it was perfect how they used that to kind of explain why Picard could still hear the Borg, even going back to First Contact. You know?
Yeah. For a race that's mostly technological, they still had some carbon-based DNA that made, you know, that I guess it would, a combination, essentially a union of whatever species was assimilated by the Borg plus the Borg tech and the nanoprobes. It just somehow formed some sort of DNA that was uniquely Borg.
Absolutely. And it was really cool about how they said that the new DNA affected people under the age of 25 when the brain fully developed. I thought that was really cool. You know, because I teach that to a lot of my clients, my younger clients in therapy, about the brain being developed at 25. So that becoming a plot point for this Borg stuff, I thought was really cool. Nice personal tie-in.
Yeah. For both of us who work in mental health, that was a fun.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know who wrote that episode and put that in there, but I mean, yeah, it was just amazing to see that real world callback. And that's what Trek has always done so well is bring in modern concepts, or, you know, accepted concepts, but adapted in such a way, you know, in the future, but, you know, just using real science to adapt and create a story is always one of the things I've loved about Trek.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's been like that ever since the creation almost 60 years ago, seeing all this real life stuff come into fruition, you know? So so overall, I think it was a wonderful season. Did you have any moments where you choked up a little bit, got emotional?
Oh, I mean, is it fair to say every time that we had a legacy character introduced, and I just thought that oh my God, the Geordi and Data stuff, the Geordi stuff with his daughters, it was all so compelling, so incredible.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. When you were younger, did you watch Voyager?
I did not watch it when I was younger. I didn't start watching Voyager until college, actually.
Okay. Well, so I watched when Voyager premiered. I was in 8th grade, and I was a sophomore in college when the series ended. So I watched it from beginning to end as it was on. So I have a lot of emotional attachment to that. So in episode 6, when they were at the Fleet Museum and Voyager showed up, and 7 and 9, Jerry Ryan's performance at that moment was just brilliant. Just the emotion on her face, looking at the ship and talking about how she was reborn there, and you know that. How much that impacted her life. It was just a beautiful moment. I won't deny I choked up during that part. Where they had the Voyager Q playing, the music playing as well, right at that moment, you know, made it even more emotional. You know, it was the whole season, like you said, was just full of little moments, you know, that made everybody feel good. And I hear people online complaining, oh, the season focused too much on member berries. There was a reason for that. This season needed the member berries. This was bringing everybody back. You know, and there needed to be a big thing with nostalgia in it. And it finally, because of that, we got to have some closure on some stories like the Ro Laren story and Picard's 30 years of being angry at her. I had always wondered for all these years, whatever happened to her? And now we finally have resolution.
Right.
With that. Shelby was another one. I always wondered, after the best of both worlds, what happened to Shelby? Then all of a sudden, there she is commanding the Enterprise F. It's like, and the Borg tie-in that with Riker on the bridge with him saying, it's ironic that she fought the Borg, but yet she's okay with the interlinking of the entire fleet. That was kind of ironic.
Yeah,
yeah. So, but yeah, it was a great season. It was a great send off to the Next Generation that they didn't get after Nemesis. I'm happy about it. I'm just hoping that we get the Legacy spinoff.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. I think.
Yes.
I mean, I think that the overwhelming fan response to Picard season 3 has justified, the existence of Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have not seen so much positive Trek talk in years.
Yeah.
On Twitter, our podcast page on Twitter is following Terry Metalis and Todd Stashwick, and it's just seeing all of these posts from these guys and how involved they are with the fans and interacting is just, it's a great time to be a Trek fan.
It sure is. It sure is. And I'm really hoping that with Strange New Worlds coming into season 2, and we've seen the teaser trailer for that, and we have the Section 31 movie happening, and the Starfleet Academy series is green lit. I'm hoping things are going to go really, really well, but it needs to have the quality that Picard season 3 had, or else we're going to go back to the same fandom butting heads with each other that we've had since Discovery started.
Yeah.
I mean, they've always butted heads, let's be honest, but at the same time, we're talking about like the new Trek era. It'd be nice to hear more of the positive stuff, and it was nice seeing that for a change, like on Twitter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just it's great to see it. People getting along and people just talking about Trek. Like it's I've missed it.
Yeah. Oh, I have too. I mean, it's unbearable sometimes going on and watching the fans literally tearing themselves apart. I mean, we have to be honest here. I mean, as much as we all love Star Trek, it's a TV show and movie franchise, and people are really literally in real life tearing themselves apart and ripping into each other over a TV show and a movie. If we say that, of course we all love it. Otherwise we wouldn't all be talking passionately about it.
Exactly.
But I mean, come on, people don't need to be going for the jugular with each other over this. I mean, come on.
Right.
And I know Star Wars isn't any better, or Doctor Who, or it's all the same.
No, every fandom is kind of the same, but
exactly.
I think the positive voices are definitely more numerous than the negative voices,
sure.
But it's the negative voices that talk the loudest, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Don't get technical with me.
Logic is the beginning of wisdom, Valeris, not the end.
The Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense.
So, all right. I think we've kind of discussed Picard and Mando as much as I want to get into for this episode. So let's kind of shift our focus and cover what I said we were going to do at the top of the episode, and that is talk about our experiences at Steel City Con back March 31st through April 2nd. So, Chris, what were your overall impressions of the show floor, the artist alley? What did you think of the organization of it? Did you have any favorite vendors that you talked to or bought stuff from?
Oh, yes, definitely. So I thought that this show was organized, and it was just a lot better than the previous show was. Steel City Con's always a good time no matter what. But at the last show, that the Saturday show was so packed with people that you couldn't move. Like, you were literally at a standstill for a couple minutes in one spot. And they tried getting people to direct traffic and stuff, and it wasn't working. Everybody was doing their own thing. And then you had people that were, cosplayers. They were stopping because people wanted pictures, and they weren't going to the sides, It was a chaotic mess. And then I heard over in the hotel where they had lines for autographs and photo ops, and it was just as congested over there, and nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
This one seemed to be a lot better. I went on Friday, the first day. Definitely hit my favorite vendors. There's Wild Bill's. I don't know if you saw them, that they're the ones who have that soda fountain and stuff. So I bought a stainless steel mug there, and spent $60 on it. I didn't know it was that much money, but it was free refills the whole convention. So I got my money's worth out of it. And it's a beautiful Stein. It really is, with the logo on it. So I made sure I hit them up a bunch of times. There is a booth near the hallway going into Artist Alley. And they're from a company called Time and Space. And they have a lot of Star Trek stuffed animals, a whole bunch of different stuffed animals. I usually hit them up because I always find something Star Trek or Star Wars or like from the Peanuts. Mm-hmm. I even bought a couple of Three Stooges things from them a year or two ago. So that's I always go to them first thing. There was also a vendor that I've been to a couple times. They made Star Trek pillows for my office, but they also make teddy bears. And I managed to get this Star Wars one for $25. So
that is really cool.
Yeah, mostly obviously people can't see it, but it's this fabric. It's got of space, and it says Star Wars on it. Has a Millennium Falcon on it, and a couple X-wings. So I named them Falcon.
Yeah, it kind of looks like material you would buy at like Joann Fabrics or somewhere like that, and then somebody just stitched that into the shape of a bear, did the polyfill, and sewed them up in the back.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, the reality is all of these people who come in for Artist Alley or do these kind of crafts are extremely talented, so I try to throw some business to certain ones as much as I can. There's another lady that sits in Artist Alley who does a lot of pillows. Mm-hmm. Brandy bought a couple shows back, bringing New Kids into it. She made New Kids on the Block pillows out of the sheets from the 80s. And so Brandy managed to get pillows for all 5 of the band. And the lady actually made her a New Kids on the Block tote bag from those sheets in the interval between 2 shows.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we always try to throw her business, but she didn't have anything Star Trek, so I didn't do anything this time. Mm-hmm. But I don't really shop a lot in Artist Alley. I usually just kind of walk through just to kind of see what people are making. But I like always walking by the 501st Legion booth. Mm-hmm. They always have some pretty neat cosplayers. Did you happen to see the cosplayer of Darth Vader dressed up as the Easter Bunny?
I did. Yes. That was amazing.
Yes. Now, so his lightsaber lit up in Easter colors, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw him in the December show too when he was dressed as Santa Vader, and his lightsaber was like a candy cane that lit up like a candy cane. That was brilliant. Really neat. So if he's back in the summertime, it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think I ended up seeing him on Sunday on the last day of the con.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's hard. I mean, there are a lot of great cosplayers. It's hard to kind of stop sometimes and try to get everybody's, pictures and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's really neat to go there and look. The Funko Pops there are pretty popular.
Oh, of course. I mean, they always, yeah.
Yes. Did you happen to get a free Monster Energy drink from their booth?
I think I got one every day, actually.
Did you really? I actually got one. I got the Ultra Strawberry. That's the first energy drink I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not really big on energy drinks. I love caffeine, but I never tried them before. And I think Red Bull tastes like carbonated apple juice to me, and I don't like it.
Yeah, Red Bull is definitely not. I mean, it's a very, I guess, traditional flavored energy drink. But yeah, Monster kind of really took the concept and ran with it, introducing all the different flavors that they have over the years. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Let's see some of the other stuff that I got. I got a Star Trek action figure for $5. It was Seska as a Cardassian from Voyager. That she was my favorite villain out of all Star Trek. So I have her hanging up in my man cave on the wall. I bought a picture of Kelsey Grammer when he was guest starring on The Next Generation. There was only one left. I didn't get to meet Kelsey Grammer. I didn't get to get it signed or anything, but I figured I'm going to buy it since he was at the convention.
Yeah.
And then the panels, some of them, what day did you go? Just Saturday and Sunday?
No, I got there Friday. We had seen the Mallrats panel.
Yes.
Which was like, I think, a 5:00 panel.
That's right. I remember now. Yes, you got there later, and I had to leave right as you were coming in.
Correct.
Yeah, I had to pick up my wife from work. So I saw that you probably missed some of these, but Mara Wilson, who was the littlest daughter from Mrs. Doubtfire, and she was in Matilda. She had a really good panel. see, Richard Dreyfuss had a pretty good panel.
I did see that one.
Yeah, that was on Saturday. That's right.
That was on Saturday. That got a little weird. It just kind of, it got a little weird, a little uncomfortable towards the end, especially like he kept trying to talk about his book.
Right. No, that's a good point. I noticed he kind of bordered on what seemed like, I don't know about conspiracy theories. Now, you missed Jesse Ventura.
Yes, I did.
Boy, did he go into some conspiracy theories. That was a very interesting panel, let me just tell you.
Yeah, that dude, he's kind of been a little weird for quite a while.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining panel, but it was something. I'm trying to see, the Kelsey Grammer George Wendt panel I think was on Friday as well. You didn't see them, did you?
No, that was on Saturday.
No.
That was Saturday? Yeah, that was Saturday. I was there.
I'm getting my days blurred. Yeah, that was a really good one. Kelsey Grammer, I've always loved. Him as Fraser is just top notch. And then again, it ties into our field. So he's just always been a great actor. The character's always been fun. He just put on a good performance at the show. George Wendt worried me a little bit. He put on a good show, but he looked a little ill to me.
Yeah, and so did you get the impression during that panel, and I'm not trying to be critical of the Steel City Con staff and everybody that runs it, but I get the idea that they had no clue that moderator was going to take over the Q&A.
I don't think they did. That kind of came out of left field, and I think he's Kelsey Grammer's manager?
Something like that, yeah. And then he just completely ignored the fact that George Wendt was there initially. Like, he started the Q&A with Kelsey Grammer before George Wendt even got on stage. Yeah,
it was really odd. I think it was the only panel really that had that switch in, and I'm wondering why. I mean, did Kelsey Grammer want that, or who knows?
Right. Yeah,
there was something behind it.
Right.
But it was interesting. The let's see who else was there during that time. Andrew McCarthy, did you see his?
I did not. No, I didn't stay for that one.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He talked a little. My favorite movie with him was Mannequin, and then Weekend in Bernie's. It was nice. He got to talk a little bit about his upcoming book and about some experiences part of the Brat Pack in the 80s. That was pretty cool. Let's see who else was there. There were so many panels.
Yeah, I think you had missed most of the Dolph Lundgren panel. I think you would come in late to that one, or
Yes, I only came in on the very tail end of that one.
Yeah, that was like the first panel of the morning on Saturday, and I loved every minute of that. I could have listened to him talk for another hour easily. Like I had, and I mean, a Google search could have told me this, but I had no idea that he came to the U.S. to study chemical engineering at MIT.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's how he got from Sweden to the U.S. was because he got into MIT.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I guess his whole family worked in engineering and chemical engineering.
Nice.
And I guess he had obtained his bachelor's at home in Sweden, and then he wanted to continue his education, or rather, I think more his family kind of pushed him to continue his education. There was the impression that I got. And then he ended up getting accepted into MIT, and this guy has a master's degree in chemical engineering, which is just absolutely incredible. And, we know him as the Russian in Rocky IV, as the Punisher, from the original adaptation into film of the Punisher, and as He-Man in the Masters of the Universe film. I mean, you see him play all these roles because he's a big dude. He's built, he's muscular. Like, I mean, to think that, this guy also has a hell of a brain in his head, right? Yes. I mean, and I'm not trying to be pejorative towards him, but it's just, if you don't look at what he's done or what brought him to the US and you only see him as an actor, you're missing out on so much of his story.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't know the chemical engineering part. That's really fascinating. So instead of being a chemical engineer, he was Ivan Drago.
Right. And that was his debut film role. Like he just happened to see about the audition for it. He went to it and got the part.
Wow. So I thought overall Steel City Con was great. I got a lot of good collectibles and saw some great panels and got my mug. So I was happy. How about you?
I mean, as far as my personal collectibles, I love art prints. So I bought a ton of art prints.
Nice.
I bought so many different sizes. I bought some 11 by 17s. I bought some 8 by 10s. I bought some 11 by 14s. I bought 5 by 7s, 4 by 6s. I got them all, man.
Nice. Great.
There was, right as you exited the doors from the Q&A room. So if you exited as you turned around to leave the Q&A room, if you exited out of the right set of doors, if you went down the first section of Artist Alley, this artist was right there. He was kind of the first booth, right? I think his booth was like basically was the one that started the aisle where the 501st was on the end cap. I want to say that he was like basically cornered from them.
Okay.
Right. But he had some of the most incredible art. He had, and I really, really had to stop myself from buying a stretched canvas, original of some of the art pieces that he had. He had some really cool Trek pieces, and they were all black light paint reactive.
Whoa. Okay.
And then if you bought one of the stretched canvases, you also got a black light to put nearby so that you could show off the black light paint.
Yeah. Was that the dude that was in the Star Trek uniform?
I believe he might have been one of the days. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Do you mind if I ask how much those prints were?
They were actually pretty reasonably priced. I think the smaller canvas was like the smallest canvas was like $125, and I think I think at most, if you got the biggest print that he had, it was maybe $325.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So relatively fair prices. I mean, if you bought one for $325, it was a big canvas.
Yeah, so it wasn't a waste of money.
No, not at all.
Well, nice. I'm going to check him out the next time. I didn't get to see that. Like I said, I'm not really big on art, so I don't do a lot in Artist Alley. I like more of the main area where it's got all the toys and stuff, and the videos. But yeah, I think it was a great convention. Do you have any other things you enjoyed about it?
There was one vendor, and I'm probably going to. I actually talked to her, and she was kind enough to just do a very quick spot interview with me just to talk about her pieces of art that she had out on the main show floor. So I'm probably going to add that little interview as a clip to this episode.
Nice.
Somewhere. I'm not sure where, but she was making these like wooden figures. They were kind of like, almost like she made them out of wooden pegs. Like she turned wooden pegs into like figures from a whole bunch of different pop culture franchises. Like she had a bunch of different versions of Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th movies. She had sets of figures from everything from Beetlejuice to The Neverending Story to Stranger Things to she had some Star Trek, some Star Wars sets. She had a whole bunch of really cool these figures, and I don't know. I've never seen art that just popped to me. Like my eyes were immediately drawn to her display on the show floor, and I was like, I knew I had to ask her about her inspiration for all of this, and it turns out that she's just a fan of everything pop culture.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You did show me some of the art that you got during the convention. It was incredible stuff that you found.
Oh, yeah. There were some amazing artists at this show, and I'm so happy to have supported so many of them by buying their pieces.
Sure. Absolutely.
And as a reminder, our podcast is running its first ever giveaway, and I was able to get some of those artists to donate pieces so that we could give away on the show. So
that's wonderful.
We have the contest running right now. I don't have an end date in mind. And honestly, if you're listening to the show and you enjoy it, you can enter the contest pretty easily. You just have to go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating and written review on Apple Podcasts. Spotify only does star ratings, but just screenshot your ratings once they're posted and email them to our show email address, logslightsaberspod@gmail.com, and you'll be entered to win the contest. I will ship to the US or Canada, so if you're living in any of those countries, you can enter to win. So please give us a review, and you have a chance to win some pretty cool artwork. So check our social media posts, and you'll find the artwork that's up for grabs in the first contest. So yeah, check that out.
Nice. Very nice.
So did you get any autographs or photo ops this time around?
Not this time around, just money wise. Now, with William Shatner coming back in August, even though I've met him twice, got his photo op twice, and 2 autographs, it's William Shatner. I wouldn't care if I met him again. And bought it. As of now, there's no VIP package. I'm keeping an eye out for that. I definitely I don't mind getting a third one of him. Especially since he's 92 years old, and this might be the last time I get to see him. You never know. And so that's a possibility. But like I was saying to you before the show, Billy D. Williams is coming to the convention, and he's getting older too. I don't want to make it look like it's like, they're like dying or anything like that. Right. But I mean, the reality is, we all get older, and, never know if he'll ever come back here. So he's a possibility. I might try to get his too. Nice. How about you?
I think if I do break my typical no autograph or photo rule, I definitely think I would want to meet Ming-Na Wen, because she's just a badass in everything she does. I mean, she's been in so many Disney and Lucasfilm projects. She's made her mark on so much that I'm a fan of. I would definitely love the chance to at least get a photo with her. And then I think Billy D, if I were going to break my rule of no autographs or photos, I would try to get Billy D, because I would have loved to meet Carrie Fisher. And unfortunately, the only time that, I know we had talked about Star Wars Celebration and my experience there several years ago in a past episode. I know she would have been there had she not passed away. And I just I don't want that to happen again.
Sure.
If I can meet a Star Wars actor at some point in my life, and especially somebody who made such a mark on me so young as Billy D. Williams. I mean, I think I better, if I'm going to make it happen, it's got to be at this next con.
Sure. Absolutely. No, that makes sense. And I hope that happens for you. Just real quick, why do you have that rule of no autographs or photo ops?
I don't know. I'm just afraid, like, I would want to have a positive experience with these people and that I would meet. And it's not that I'm afraid that the people themselves that I meet aren't going to be fun to talk to. I'm just worried that, I would like to at least have a little bit of a conversation. And I know that's not always possible because of the lines, they have to keep them moving. But I don't know. I would prefer to have more interaction than stand here for a photo, smile, wave, whatever, and then, okay, we got your money, now go.
Sure. No, I got you. You never know. Just a real quick word or two could make a difference. I told you when I first met Shatner, he saw me in my yellow Star Trek shirt, and he actually told me I like your shirt, and I looked at him dumbfounded and said, well, I like yours too. So just that moment, that's that. It's perfect. And that'll never, ever be taken away. So it could happen.
You're right. You're right. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's still several months away. So
yes.
So I know we had talked about the one cosplay with the person dressed up as Darth Vader as the Easter Bunny. Did you see any other cool cosplay that you wanted to talk about or point out?
I did see some, but I can't remember them. To be honest with you. Friday was a blur because I was going through all the different vendors, and then Saturday, most of my Saturday was actually in the showroom watching the panels. So I didn't get to see a whole lot of the cosplayers as much as I want. I think there was Count Dooku walking around, which was really cool. Let's see who else. There was I think a TIE fighter pilot walking around the first day. So you know who I'm talking about?
I think.
Yeah. Trying to think who else. There was somebody walking around as Stitch. on Friday. Did you see that person? Is a big whole stitch?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah. So there was that one. Those are the only ones that really stick out. What about you? Did you see anything?
I did, and I wish I would have gone up and interacted with him, but there was this guy walking around. I'm pretty sure he was walking around all 3 days. He was basically cosplaying as a non-player character from video games, from like RPG video games. Somebody, you're playing a video game and you go into this town, right? And then you find you walk up to a character who is standing there that, they might have like an exclamation point over their head or like a question mark. It's meant to tell you, the player, that that's somebody that you can talk to or get a quest from, right?
Okay.
So there was this guy walking around with an exclamation point over top of his head. And then he was wearing a sign that said, press X to talk. And if you walked up to him and you pressed the X on his sign, he would talk to you.
Oh, nice.
Nice. And he would really act like a video game character.
Yes, that's neat. I mean, some of the stuff that you see these people come up with, it's really creative and really amazing.
Yeah, it's such a simple costume and such a simple concept, but it was brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes simple is best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, any other things about Steel City Con that you want to mention before we wrap this up?
Not so much about the show itself. The Stella Parada, it's become a tradition now that we go to dinner at a Mexican restaurant right up the street. So we actually, our ship's commanding officer in the club, the actual bigger Starfleet International, just promoted her to fleet captain.
Nice.
With her rank. So she made a joke about it. She said she bought a cake, and so we celebrated her fake promotion. And we had a blast. It got to the point where some people were staring at us, and I don't like being the center of attention. But it was fun. We had a good time. We were laughing, having a blast. So
yeah, for sure. I thought it was a great show. I was really happy to get back into going to a con again. It has been far too long. So it was kind of nice to, really get back into the con scene and have such a good experience and have such a fun time at Steel City Con.
Yes.
I'm excited for the one in August. I know you and I were talking about it before the show. It's right before I come back to work from the summer break. So
yes.
It'll be a nice way to kick off or rather to end my summer vacation, I guess.
Nice. Very nice.
I think that's going to do it for us for episode 26 of Captain's Logs and Lightsabers podcast. My name is Jonathan. I'm always joined by my co-host, Chris. I'm not sure what episode we're going to do next. It will probably be a full breakdown of either Mando or Picard season 3. So stay tuned and subscribe to the podcast so you know what's coming up next, and you'll get new episode notifications as soon as they're released if you subscribe to us. So check us out if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're not already, and enter that contest by giving us some reviews. Until the next episode of Captain's Logs and Lightsabers, may the Force be with you.
And live long and prosper.
Hey, this is Jonathan. I'm wandering the show floor at Steel City Con, and I came across one of the vendors out on the show floor that had some of the most incredible art, and I just had to stop and see if she was willing to talk to us for a bit. So this is Tricia, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her inspiration and about the medium that she uses for her art.
Hi, so I'm Tricia, and I have a little business called Paints and Peoples, and essentially we just love pop culture, so I like to, paint different TV shows and just things from my childhood and things we all loved as kids from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, there is so much pop culture on this table. I mean, anything you can think of from the 80s up until today. We've got representation for Among Us, for Friday the 13th, even the NES version of the Friday the 13th game with the purple and green Jason. There's a figure for that on this table. So one of my favorite things is just wandering the show floor and coming across unique art like this. These are little wooden figures. I'm going to let Tricia tell you a little bit about how she was inspired to adapt this medium and make it her own.
Well, like I said, we love pop culture in our family, and I started by just we had a sleepover. My kids and some of their cousins slept over, and we were just trying to think of a craft or something to do to keep them busy. And we had a bunch of little wooden people, and we just started painting them. And then my kids started requesting certain things, and then my friends started requesting certain things, and all of a sudden it just became madness. There were so many different pegs and peoples around the house that I just had to figure out what to do with them. But now I'm absolutely just obsessed with just painting them, and it really does it brings a lot of fun into my life, and I just enjoy it.
Thank you so much for your time, Tricia. Much appreciated. And hope to see you at future cons and see what you come up with for them.